Week 7 has came and went, and it was capped off with Lamar Jackson throwing five tutties last night on the road on Monday night against the Buccaneers. And they're putting the league on notice. 17 of 22, 281 yards, the 5 touchdowns that I mentioned, a QB rating of 158.1. All right, adding a buck 70 on the ground from Derrick Henry on only 15 carries. Oh, by the way, Lamar had another 50 plus on the ground. And this Ravens thing, how it's rolling right now, this is their 5th win in a row. To go with them 5 tutties for Lamar last night, this is the Ravens' 5th win in a row. If they can pull this off and run the table, because if you look at the schedule, and I have, that schedule is not that tough coming down the stretch. I will pull this up here on the screen. We got some Lamar stats. We'll get to those. But in regards to the Ravens schedule, if you take a look, all right, so right now they are 5-2. They have the Browns next week with no nasty man. We'll get to that. Trust me, I have a lot of thoughts on that. So no nasty man on the road, but still no nasty man. They got the Broncos, the Bengals again, who took them to OT, but still at the crib with the Bengals, Steelers, Chargers. Then you see they got the Eagles, Giants, Steelers again, Texans, and Browns again. So they're 5-2. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They haven't even played the Browns or the Steelers yet. There's roughly about maybe 3 games here. Maybe they'll probably drop one to Pittsburgh. The Harbaugh Bowl against the Chargers on the road in LA. I don't think John is going to let Jim get him about the paint. We'll see how that goes. But the Eagles, Houston, and one of the Steeler games, those are the only games left on their schedule where I would not be surprised if they lost. Because if you're the Ravens, you are trying to run it back to the AFC Championship game. You want to get it back in blood with the Chiefs. Problem is the Chiefs ain't losing. The Chiefs refuse to lose. And the Ravens, who coming into the season had, I believe, the 4th hardest strength of schedule. Now looking at this schedule, because again, we're looking at, look, they lost to the Chiefs opening night. But again, as that offense opening night compared to what we witnessed last night, 2 totally different offenses, right? So they're hitting a rhythm now of what they want to do. The whole RPO stuff that fanboys were dreaming of with Lamar and Derrick Henry, that's not even really been that much of a thing so far. It's really just been, nah, dog. They're load managing in a way, at least last night for sure. They load manage how they're using Derrick Henry. They didn't really unleash Derrick Henry until the 2nd and 3rd quarter. It was kind of like a filling out process. Like, you're going to stack the box. What are you going to do? You're going to have a 5th down lineman. What are you going to do? And then we'll read and react off of that. So they kind of pick and chose their spots. And when Henry broke them, he broke them. Even Lamar was out here throwing downfield blocks. Like, it was a very cohesive unit. This is easily the best offensive, I think, out of all the Ravens. I've watched all the Ravens games. I think that's the best they've looked offensively this year. The most cohesive in terms of mixing in the run, making sure Henry gets his touches, getting Lamar back out there, making sure he's making good throws, not just dink and dunk stuff like his predicate like throughout the National Checkdown League, but actual intermediate throws, deep throws. He hit a bomb to Bateman. Are you shitting me? When Rashard Bateman's taking you deep, pause. You need to re-examine your secondary. And I know the Bucs, the Bucs defense isn't thought to be one of those, but they still have some remnants of some of those dudes that were there from not that long ago when they won the chip, right? So it's a respectable defense. Not a good defense per se, but certainly not a bad defense. It's not a trash defense. But if you're going over what the Ravens have been up against so far, they took that L against the Chiefs opening night, dropped one at the crib that was winnable to the Raiders, and then went on the road to beat Dallas, which we thought was going to be a important win, but it turns out the Cowboys are the middest of mid, and that's being generous. Then you had that Bills game. The Bills game was big. That was important. Lamar versus Josh Allen is always going to be a thing. And the Bills finally realized, oh, we do need to get Josh Allen some weapons. They got Amari Cooper. He paid instant dividends. Funny how that works. Go get your quarterback a number 1 wide receiver. It pays off. The Ravens still won't listen, but hey, they give him Derrick Henry, right? So, Cincinnati Bengals, they got that dub over in OT. The Commandos game we thought was just going to be a layup, but now because of Jaden Daniels and the way that he's performed, now that dub isn't so easy. Like, yo, the Commandos are not mid. And then you had the Bucs win last night where, Mike Evans and Godwin were out there. Evans was clearly hobbled, so you didn't get 100% Mike Evans, but still, he went out there, got a quick, easy tutty, but then pulled up lame, bad hammy. Godwin, he's done for the year, but you saw the cracks in the armor. You saw Baker Mayfield did not play well last night. He puts a lot of pressure on himself, and you saw last night that when he presses, it creates easy opportunities. Marlon Humphrey, the ageless one, 2 more picks. But this schedule, look, I would not be surprised at a 14-3 type of, end result for the Ravens. 13-4. The problem is that still might not be better than the Chiefs. That still might not be. It might come down to that opening game. It might come down to that week 1 win. That week 1 win might end up being a tiebreaker of sorts to who gets the number 1 seed. So if you're the Ravens, your whole focus is we need to run it back and get back to the AFC Championship game. And if we need to go to Arrowhead as opposed to hosting like they did last year, what's the difference? Well, the difference is we're bringing Derrick Henry with us. But the issue is the one thing that I'm concerned about, and I know it's like beating a drum, you're asking Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, and Nelson Aguilar to beat top-tier corners in big spots. Now, Rashad Bateman did a good job last night. He had the one play, the one deep pass. Lamar had a great throw, perfect pass. He hit it. It worked. But what happens when that's a top-tier corner? What happens when that's McDuffie? What happens if you're facing Houston and that's Stingley? What happens if, let's assume the Jets make a run and that's Sauce? Can you trust Zay Flowers? Can you trust Rashad Bateman? Can you trust Nelson Aguilar to make that play in a big spot against a top-tier corner? Because that's the difference. Yes, I know you have Derrick Henry. I know you think you can just run down everybody's throat, and maybe you can. But the thing about that is Joe Burrow don't got to worry about that. Josh Allen now doesn't have to worry about that. He thought he could get it off. He thought he could get it off like Lamar and do it all, despite no weapons. He learned, and the front office learned to say, oh, no. Go get Amari Cooper. This ain't the Dolphins. They got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Even the Texans, you're looking at Nico, and then they went out there and doubled down to win and got Diggs. Because you need someone who could stretch the field vertically. The intermediate stuff is nice when it works. The dump-offs can work. But to beat the too high looks, you need somebody that can stretch the field vertically. You need someone that can do double moves, and it works. You can do crossers, you can do stick routes, you can do all that type of stuff. The sluggos have been stymied a little bit, but you can still get an occasional sluggo off. But in terms of route trees, like the route tree for the Ravens wide receiver room is extremely limited. So can this squad go into Arrowhead? Can that receiver room go into Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game and get it off? And then can Lamar make the throw? 5 tutties last night tells me I think he's in position to make that throw. And if we really want to start getting into projections, let's look at what Lamar has done so far this season. Can he be a 3-time MVP? Because, Mahomes is doing it. The team is undefeated, but Mahomes is not killing you with the stats. He's not killing you with the video game numbers, the stuff that we're accustomed to. But if you're looking at Lamar, and this is through 7 weeks now, 7 weeks, he's got 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions. So this is about half of the way through the year, right? If we really want to parse it, how can we divide this to get a projection out? You're trying to get to 16 games, 17 games. He's about 40% of the way. So if we want to project, that's at least double and some change, right? So double the touchdowns and some change will probably be mid-30s. So he could probably hit you with the same 36 passing touchdowns like he did in his first MVP season. But them yards, he could get you close to 4,000 yards. You're going to have a scenario where Lamar Jackson is on pace for 4,000 yards, 30-plus touchdown passes, and maybe 4 or 5 picks. And the rushing on top of that, and the impact with Derrick Henry. You might get back-to-back MVP seasons for Lamar Jackson. And for those who constantly like to nitpick and still question Lamar and what can he do, again, he's doing this with minimal weapons. We just walked down some. Like Mahomes now is in that same class, by the way. Mahomes has done it with weapons where he had Tyreek and he had Pete Kelsey. Now he's trying to do it with old Kelsey, Noah Gray, Xavier Worthy. Like it's they're Juju. Like he's doing it with bare minimum weapons as well. But at least we've seen him with weapons, and he put up video game numbers. Lamar has put up these video game numbers and these video game highlight plays with minimal help. That's always the crux of the thing. Of like, well, yeah, you can kill Lamar. Sure, every QB gets killed. Even Mahomes gets killed. Mahomes is far from perfect. He's just the best of what we have, the best of what we've seen. But to make it seem like Lamar should be judged on the same scale as these other QBs who have been given weapons is idiotic. It's absolutely idiotic, and it is ignoring what's right in front of you. They're going to be depending on Rashard Bateman to do what he did last night in Arrowhead against McDuffie. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know. I'd say it's not happening. But with the type of season Lamar is having, with the way that Derrick Henry has affected and infected this team, I think there's a really good chance that they might not even need Rashard Bateman. But when they go into Arrowhead against them Chiefs, Chris Jones ain't for play. That's going to be the real, all of this comes down to we just need to fast forward and get to Arrowhead, or maybe it's back in Baltimore, but likely the way it's trending right now. Let's get to Arrowhead, Chiefs, Ravens, AFC Championship game. We got Derrick Henry. We want to run it back. Okay, that's essentially what happened. The Ravens stood pat for the most part. They more so improved on defense or tinkered more on defense more so than offense. The big offensive acquisition was, hey, we got Derrick Henry. Did some tinkering on the line and stuff like that, but essentially, hey, we got Derrick Henry. We're going to lean more into Zay Flowers. We're going to trust that Rashard Bateman's a year after missing a year, so he should be fully healed. We should now be able to get the benefits of that investment that we made in making him a first-round pick. All of that, we're running it back, and now we got Derrick Henry. We shall see. But the numbers Lamar is on pace to put up, you're going to have to put some respect on his name, because it's going to be over 4,000 yards, upwards of 35 tutties, and under 7 picks. That's another MVP season.